Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Tiffany.
To some, we could be called career wizards.
And to others, sometimes we seem like therapists. However, we definitely are not.
But for you, we are the co-hosts of the Career Boosters podcast.
We all have our own personal brands, and it really shows up in how we interact in every situation and the people that we interact with. And our brands are shaped by the values that we've talked about, the strengths that we have, and our own personal experiences that are unique to our own stories.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Career Boosters podcast, season 3, episode 13. First of all, from Tiffany and myself, Happy New Year. We are very excited for 2026 and can't wait to see not only how our MBA students can grow, develop, and be the best versions of themselves, we would like our podcast to do the same thing, which I think is really cool and fun and exciting. The second class that Tiffany and I get to facilitate and teach to MBA students revolves all around the tactical aspects of finding a job. This week in class, Tiffany did the most exciting syllabus review. And then the second part of the class, I had the opportunity to go through brand and personal brand with students and looking at why brand is important. Looking at the fact that we do have a brand, whether we think it or not. What are the components of our personal brand and how do we build, develop, and grow that personal brand? So all of this leads to important success when it comes to career and career development. On our podcast today, one of the students that was in our class, Phil Fung, is going to join us. Phil is a fast track MBA student, which means he's doing his MBA a little quicker than most, which is pretty cool and pretty exciting for him. So Phil and I have had the chance to work together on his brand, and it's a continual work in progress. But I can't wait to see what Phil talks about and what he's learned about himself and what he hopes to achieve in 2026. So, Phil, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. And the first question we have is, what's the story behind the decision to embark on an MBA journey right now?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I've always wanted to do my MBA in the future as just the next logical step in my future career development to take on more leadership roles. So I've always wanted to challenge myself both professionally and academically and see what other opportunities were out there. So unfortunately, in 2025 of April, the company I work for had a restructuring with a new leadership change. And I was on the short end of the stick and got laid off. So it left me around a week to apply to the program. So I thought, you know what? What else should I do? I should just apply and give it a shot. So I did that. And I'm so glad it worked out. The timing couldn't be any better. Being able to do my fast track right now. I've been enjoying the program so far.
What's been the favorite part of the program so far, Phil? So we like to give a little bit of insight into what this MBA program is like. So for you, what's been the favorite part?
Honestly, just the wonderful people I get to meet in the program. I think there's just so many great opportunities to network, so many events to try out different things that I normally wouldn't be able to try out. And just the people are so relatable. They all got such a unique background, different stories, and I think the biggest difference is that people actually want to be in the program. So obviously we pay a lot of money to be in the program. We want to learn. So I feel like everyone is just super engaged and willing to share their own experiences, which has really helped me in my own learning and just helped me feel comfortable in the classroom.
Mm. You said a word in there just a minute ago, the word opportunity. And, as I was thinking about you talking about this kind of unexpected opportunity, perhaps the MBA, or at least the timing of it, you talked
Hmm.
about it certainly being a part of your goals, but the timing of it might have been a little unexpected. And so kudos to you for looking at what many, myself included, I've also been on the short end of the stick of a restructure. And let me tell you, opportunity was not the first word that came to my mind when somebody said you no longer have a job, right? And
Yeah.
so for you to go, hang on a second, there's an opportunity here in like a short amount of time and take it and run in another direction. Like super kudos to that. And to also now see the opportunities surrounding you in the MBA. I think that's really cool.
Mhm.
The MBA is interesting bubble, I think we often call it. It is something like no other experience in life. It's pretty hard to replicate an MBA experience in any other way, which means it's often transformative and it's awfully quickly transformative or impactful. So I'm
Hmm.
curious if we start a bit of this conversation because Paul talked about brand this week in a presentation that he does really great in a lot of different places. And so tell me, in what are we, 4.5 months in ish, right? Started the end of August. What has already shifted for you, perhaps, in from a brand perspective along your MBA journey?
I think just a lot of self-awareness that we all have our own personal brands, and it really shows up in how we interact in every situation and the people that we interact with. And our brands are shaped by the values that we've talked about, the strengths that we have, and our own personal experiences that are unique to our own story. So I think just learning not to be shy about what our brand is and not to sell ourselves short. We always kind of compare ourselves and feel like maybe our story or our brand is not as unique as the other person beside us. But recognizing that our own brands should be celebrated and something that we should be proud of, and continuing to mold and work towards what our brand is. So I feel like in the last 4.5 months, I've just been able to really find out more about who I am, myself, and being able to better communicate that to those around me.
And what have you found out in those 4 months? What's shifted specifically for Phil?
I think that just confidence in myself. I've always never thought of myself that I could be going back to school. I always thought undergrad would be the last thing that I would do in terms of academics, but I feel like um, just knowing that I have confidence that I belong in the classroom, I can actually relate those experiences that I've had to things that I'm learning, have really shifted my confidence and really shifted my perspective of I guess my own worth, my own self-worth, that I could do it.
Phil, I hear this quite a bit when MBA students come in here. They feel like, oh boy, I'm going to be the low man on the totem pole, so to speak. And then you come in here, you're a part of these classes, you realize you have valuable contributions.
Mhm.
And what a wonderful thing to kind of think about, right? What a wonderful thing to kind of be aware of. And, graduate school, yes, you get the theory and the training at a very like high, sophisticated level. But I think at the end of the day, that building of confidence and that ability to just realize that you belong is really important.
Mhm.
I'd love to touch just briefly around like your understanding of like values and strengths and things like that. What have you kind of learned about yourself when it comes to those things?
Um, I think just being able to put some words to what those strengths and values are. I think through like the exercises that we've done in class, having other people tell you what your strengths are as well. Asking people, I think there's a lot of power in that. And also just like taking the time to self-reflect. I've been able to really figure out my values, of like family, like peace, things like that. My strength of being like a relator. I think those have really shown up. And the MBA has really given me opportunities to like leverage those values and strengths and be able to use them to positively bring change and help other people around me.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that you talked about feedback. When we think about building our brand, it's one thing to say, I'll use the word honesty and integrity. I find those are the easy ones that people go to. But how do you demonstrate those things? And are you demonstrating them to the people around you? If you're not, then maybe they aren't a part of your brand, right? And
Hmm.
and then if you are, it is a little bit more of that confidence, that self-assurance to the things that you're doing, right? Which is really
Hmm.
cool. If you had to describe your personal brand in 3 words today, how would you do that? What would they be?
It's a great question. I think the first one would be, I think service centered. I love investing in other people, love helping other people where I can. Second one I would say is faith. I think it's a deep core value of mine. So it guides the way that I act, the way that I speak, and it kind of gives me my purpose and to the why, like why I wake up every day and do the things that I do, is guided by my faith. And then lastly, I would say is just as a relator. I love community building. I love relationship building, and just seeing like myself and other people around me flourish in life gives me a lot of pride and joy.
Hmm. In what I've experienced of you, Phil, those are definitely three words that I see. Certainly, I got the opportunity to hear more about you because you spend time with Paul and you
Yeah.
develop a relationship with him as your career coach. But there's been moments when you and I have been able to interact, and brand is a funny thing. We seem to think that we have to talk about it, or somebody has to know us really, really well in order to see our brand, and that's wrong. Like just people sense a brand about us in seconds. When
Mm.
we meet somebody, it happens almost instantly, the judgments and perceptions that we make. And so people see our brand, whether they know us or whether they don't. And so I want to offer the fact that I don't know you all that well, but those are certainly words that I see within you and around you, which is really cool. The other interesting thing I think about brand is that if we really understand and own our own authenticity and personal brand, the reality is it doesn't necessarily fit everywhere in a nice contained, I would say, box, right? Sometimes our personal brands are maybe a little bit different than those around us, or unexpected, or less traditional. And I'm curious if that's something that you found at all within the MBA program, or what people expect MBA students to be like. Is there anything about your own brand or your own self that doesn't maybe fit the mold?
I think one thing is that like I've had a very non-linear, I guess, path to the MBA program. I kind of been everywhere. I started in sciences and then I switched to business, thinking I'd do the accounting because, math was the thing and I thought I liked math, so accounting made sense. And then kind of switched into marketing in my last year and then kind of figured my way out working in a thrift store after graduation. Not necessarily where I wanted to be. But then the opportunity became showed up to become an accommodation manager to manage senior homes. So definitely not a very linear path in business where I thought most people would be, or in traditional MBA spaces. So in that sense, I think I've really had to um, my different values, my strengths, kind of showed up in different ways, and I've been able to carry all those experiences forward to my MBA program here.
Phil, when I think about the three pillars, those three words, they fit. It's so interesting. You have this like non-linear kind of component of career and what that looks like, but these three pillars can be focused and can kind of thrive and shine in each one of those spaces. And to your last role in accommodation management at seniors facilities, think about service to the people who have lived in on this planet for as long as they have, right? If you think about faith and the ability to help people and the relator being able to relate to those things, what a wonderful thing to kind of see how those puzzle pieces fit to the puzzle of what that looks like for yourself. And then whatever the next step looks like, you can start to fit in those pillars to what that looks like too. As you look towards 2026, what are one or two concrete goals that you're trying to work towards right now?
I think just effectively communicating my brand, being like I said earlier, not selling myself short. So not not speaking poorly about myself, but in terms of like speaking towards the strengths, things that I value, and not being afraid to do so. So being unashamed of the brand that I have built. And obviously with graduation coming up this coming year, I'm hoping to find a job that aligns with my personal brand, my values and strengths. And just a fun little goal that I'm trying to run a half marathon sometime this year. So that'll just be a nice personal challenge or something that I can look forward to.
That The next question we have on the list is going to, I think, dovetail certainly nicely into that half marathon goal, and what we need to do to get there. But I want to offer a quote that I came across this week about goals that I thought was really interesting. Because, I mean, there's a reason we're starting off talking about branding goals. That's kind of the topic that we like to talk about in January. There's this, adage, new year, new me, which I'm not such a fan of, actually. But James Clear is the author of Atomic Habits, and he's got a lot of really great stuff that just works really well this time of year. Works anytime, but it shows up this time. And I wanted to offer something as we start to talk about goals. And so James says, new goals don't deliver new results. New lifestyles do. Talk about half marathon, what lifestyle. And a lifestyle is a process, not an outcome. For this reason, all of our energy should go into building better habits, not chasing better results. And so I'm curious if you think, even take the marathon, what processes and lifestyle changes you have to make to, yes, yield that results. What do you got to do this year? And it's probably uncomfortable. What are you going to do to chase some of those lifestyle and process changes that will give you those results?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be uncomfortable. I know it's gonna hurt. I know
Uh-huh.
training's gonna hurt.
Literally.
I'm gonna have to eat less, so that's two things that I know I'm not looking forward to. But I know just having small goals, I think along the way, like small things that I can achieve, and I think having people around you that kind of support you in those goals really matter as well. I think accountability is a big thing, so having people that can keep you accountable and making sure that I'm out there being active every day, slowly building up my mileage as I head towards the goals that I set myself towards, will be huge. But I think just also, just taking one step at a time. So not looking forward to just like the end result or the half marathon, but also just enjoying each day, enjoying the process of getting towards that goal. I think if I can just focus on the each day, the process of it, I can find a lot more joy out of it than just doing the half marathon for the sake of doing it.
I almost look at like the process of finding a job almost like a half marathon, right? Like you have steps that you need to take. You have a
Mm.
career coach and me that we meet every 3 weeks. We have learnings and growth and development that you're learning about yourself and what you want the world to know. These values and strengths, where do they align? There's a process into kind of fitting all of those things into, and then you have to look at what's available, right? You have to run a half marathon, but where are you going to do it? What are you going to do? And so
Hmm.
there's a nice synergy between the half marathon and the finding the job, which
Hmm.
when we think about two great goals to try and accomplish in 2026, that's pretty awesome. Last question before you go into the lightning round with Tiffany. When you picture December 2026, so almost a year from now, what would need to be true for you to honestly say that this was a breakout year for you?
I think if I can continue to enjoy my classes, finish strong in the MBA program, and just being able to keep the connections that I've made, I think that's one of the goals I've set out for myself as well. Being able to continue to connect to those around me, obviously find a job that I'm happy with. Ultimately, I just want to find something that I can wake up every day, similar to yourselves, and be happy and be contented to go to work, but also be able to support my family, making sure that they are happy. I'll be happy.
Hmm. That sounds that process of happiness, right? Process of finding happiness in the everyday will, in my opinion, it will take you so many more places than often just the specific goals that we think we have, or we might narrowly have. Chasing that happiness every day, to find it every day, is pretty cool. All right, there's lots we could keep talking about. There always is, but this isn't that long of a podcast. So you ready for a lightning round?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's do it. Three quick questions, three gut answers. What is it about your career story that's given you the biggest boost?
Just people believing in me and investing in my potential.
What do you wish you'd learned sooner?
I think don't compare myself. I think the saying that comparison is a thief of joy is so true. We all are unique and bring different strengths to the table.
Mm-hmm. And service is something that is important to all three of us for sure. Paul and I certainly live and breathe it every day. So we're always curious to hear how service is going to show up for you in the coming week.
Just being present. Don't worry about the things to come and the future. And I think just being able to help those around me and offer words of encouragement. And just trust my gut. If I feel like someone needs it, to say it.
Appreciate that. All right, Paul, you're up. Paul's random question.
Phil, that was one of the most efficient lightning round answers I have heard on this podcast, and we've done like 80 something episodes. So way to go. That was fantastic. Phil, I don't know how to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it, and I'll probably ramble a little bit, but I want to know this. So, for those of you that may be listening that don't know, Phil, big sports guy. Big sports guy.
Mhm.
Who is the Phil Fung of sports? So if we think about the story that is all of sports and things like that, what do you want, or who do you want to kind of like mimic or see that kind of example in the sports world for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, no, sorry. That's the
Wow.
one I came up with, and I knew you could handle it.
Well, the first person I think of is just like a Roger Federer in tennis. I think that's
Nice.
kind of who I want to be. I think he carries himself with such class. He's
Yeah,
always like gracious in
yeah,
defeat, but also always
yeah,
so humble in his
yeah,
successes. So I think that's something that I want myself to always remember my roots and where I come from, and
hmm,
uh, just giving glory to God
yeah,
in my successes,
hmm,
and not boast in my own work and on my own
yeah,
strength.
yeah,
And just be true to myself. I think when I'm true to myself, like Roger Federer is,
hmm,
people will gravitate to who you are as a
yeah,
person.
yeah,
So just making sure that I'm the same way to every person I meet, and
yeah.
just being consistent as a character, as a person, I
Hmm.
think will be key. So
That's
I think
amazing.
first person in mind is Roger Federer. I'm sure if I had
Great
10 more
answer.
minutes, I would think of a couple more athletes.
Well, in our next meeting, we'll have like a
Yeah.
big deep
First question.
dialogue onto all of the athletes that you think. And
Yeah.
if I could add one thing to the Roger Federer example, I think Roger Federer did like a keynote speech for like
Yeah.
a university, like a celebration, and I think he said something along the lines of like he lost 50% of the points that he
Hmm.
played.
Mm.
And we can't always be successful all the time, but it's what we learn from our mistakes and the things that don't go well. So, what a perfect person to kind of pick as the Phil Fung of the sports world. So, I love that. Great job.
There are worse people to want to compare yourself to. That's for sure. I want to offer one that I thought of, and so of the three of us, I am the least kind of sports savvy in here. So this one's going to be niche, and you're not going to know them. That's fine. But what I heard from you, Phil, when you talked about this non-linear, maybe it's a little non-traditional way that I got into the NBA. We have somebody from Edmonton, in fact, who is an Olympic gold medalist in track. So track cycling. So in the velodrome, those bikes that go
Mm.
round and round that have no brakes, no gears. Yeah.
Mm.
So she came from Edmonton. She won the gold medal 2 Olympics ago. Is that how you pluralize Olympics? Anyway, Kelsey Mitchell. She was discovered by the RBC. So the RBC does the kind of training program where people kind of come in and right? So Kelsey
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell wasn't a cyclist. She'd never cycled. She'd
Mm.
never been on the track. They discovered her, right? Discovered her. She had all the like markings of a track cyclist. They got her in the program and she was in the Olympics. Okay, this is like, don't fact check me, but it was a matter of years 1, 2, 3 years. She was in the Olympics and won a gold medal. And now she's
Oh.
actually moved out of track and she's moved on to something else. And so you think about our definition of people who are supposed to be gold level Olympians and where they come from. It's not always true. And she's homegrown here in Edmonton, Sherwood Park, I think. Anyway, I'm gonna have to fact check all that. We're gonna have to add a fact check section to this one, Paul. But that's what came to mind for you, for Phil. Non-traditional still can mean super success. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, there you go. Fact for the day. Phil, as non-traditional as maybe you may be, you are still such a joy. And I think actually the non-traditional nature is what makes you really cool to be around and inspiring to be around and relatable. So you used relator, but you just are relatable we're all average people. We're all non-traditional in our own sense. And so thank you for sharing that with us, for sharing part of your story, your brand as you know it today, which is going to shift and change because it does for all of us in our own understanding. So looking forward to see where that goes for you for the rest of your MBA. And again, thanks for being here and sharing it.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, key takeaways, and mine came within his first few sentences, and I commented on it, and it still stands out to me, and that is his mindset to see opportunity in an unexpected setback. An unexpected setback that if anybody out there listening that has lost a job, you know how shaking it can be, and it can like rattle you to your core. And to quickly see an opportunity. It took me a little while. I actually sat with mine, and yes, I saw it as an opportunity, but it didn't happen the next like day, like Phil talked about it having a week to apply to the MBA. So the mindset it takes to see opportunity in unexpected setback is a really key message that I heard from there, and that is not just unique to like I think that moment in time for him. Like to me, that impacts probably how he just sees the world, his worldview, which is really cool. And one other sentence later, he just said, trust my gut, trust your gut. And I'm really playing with that this year to really understand more about that. So I picked up on that too. So those
Nice.
two key pieces stand out. How about you?
Yeah, I think I appreciate the, opportunities to see setbacks as just kind of grow with it, see what happens, and go from there. And I'll layer that into how that can diminish confidence potentially, right? Like when a setback happens, we may not be as confident as we could be. And it's about how we bounce back, and about how we, he's bounced back. He now looks at his values and his strengths and the things that make him unique and different. And we're really working on how to really point that in the right direction, and where does that fit. And I think people that do that great self-reflection, I think great things will happen in the right time for them. And I really appreciate the confidence building and the realization that he belongs, and I think that's really wonderful.
It's a heartwarming message, and it's a message that isn't always easy to hang on to.
No.
Like that belonging, that self-confidence, that picking yourself back up, that resilience. Sounds great, feels great when you got it, but gosh darn, is that hard, at least in my own experience, to hang on to all the time. So that was really nice
100%.
to hear.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, well, we are off and running 2026. Next week, we get to talk all things resume and cover letters, which actually our viewpoints on those are kind of sort of shifting as the world of work shifts. So stick around next week and find out how. See you then. Thanks for tuning in to the Career Boosters podcast. We hope you had a blast. Yeah, we know that's corny. Catch you next time, and remember to subscribe wherever you enjoy podcasts.